I'm Margaret.
I'm Colleen.
And we're the Cousins Weird. And we're together. And
Yay.
we're recording in one of Colleen's brother's bedrooms in her parents' house.
Yeah, we're trying to go for better sound.
And I think it's going to sound better. You should hit us up, let us know what you think. If it sounds better at this episode than it has ever before in the last, year that we've been recording?
Yeah. We've been struggling, okay? We've been struggling on how to get our sound better. We're in a smaller space. We're not using the microphone right now because I feel like it's too much interference for some reason, and we can't figure out what's going on with it. So we're hoping this improves your listening pleasures.
Yes. Make it easier to listen to so that, it doesn't make your ears hurt. So I've been dealing with sick children at home with...
Always.
Yeah, like the end of last week with waking up to a vomit-covered bed of my child and then poop in the pants because she had diarrhea. She had the vomiting and then she had diarrhea and she didn't make it to the bathroom.
Poor girl.
And it was so bad that I had to take a minute because I gagged. It was horrible. Like got 2 bags to bag up.
It was just like, let's throw out the clothes. Was it one of those?
Yes.
Yes. Just throw. We don't need those anymore.
No. Well, she just had underwear on because my children don't like to wear clothes. And
well, I was the same way when I was younger. I wore underwears.
Underoos.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had underoos. Those were fun. I had Supergirl underoos, I think.
I had Annie one. It was like a little bralette.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah. And now that I actually have to wear a bra, I hate it.
I know. But that bralette.
That was
the coolest. I was like, I'm a grown woman.
Run around downstairs in our underoos. So funny.
Yes, we did. And then if my brother's friends came, we didn't care if my brothers were around because
we were young though. We were 8 maybe?
Yeah, and we didn't care about them being here, but if their friends came over, we'd run and hide under the blanket, remember? Mm-hmm. Like, they can't see us.
We're in
our underwear. My brother Eric, however, he didn't care if I had people here. He came out in his underwear all the time. He didn't care.
It's his house.
Yeah. I mean, he was a grown man. Walking around in his underwear. He did not care.
Because he's, 11 years older than you?
Yeah.
So when Colleen's 13.
Yeah.
He's in his 20s.
Yeah. He was came downstairs for breakfast in his underwear. He didn't care.
Jeez.
That's brothers for you.
I didn't have brothers, so,
Yeah, you didn't have that.
I didn't have to deal with toilet seat up. I know my dad left the toilet seat up.
Really, that wasn't an issue. My mom trained them very well. I never had that,
was
really.
Also, came with,
always,
Richard's
both the
that
lid
way,
and
everything is down. Never left the toilet seat up.
Of course, Richard's the opposite of me, because he was same as Ruben. He was the only boy amongst girls in the house. And I was the only girl amongst boys. But my brothers, I think, too, I was so much younger than them that they didn't want me to literally fall into the toilet.
I remember falling in the toilet as a child. And it was just my dad
and your butt
4 women. Yeah, and you're yelling because you're stuck. And I'm like, help! My mom comes in. I see your face and your hands and your feet.
And the rest of you.
And I'm crying. I'm mortified because my butt is in my own pee.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Because, you had to pee. And you're little. If you get up in the middle of the night and you have to pee.
You don't know.
You can't hold it.
You don't even know what you're doing.
It's dark and you turn the light on and you still can't see and you drop trow and you sit on the toilet and you fall in and then you pee yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I've, as an adult, fallen into the toilet a bit because my son would sometimes forget to put it down. And in the middle of the night, you go into the bathroom and you're not paying attention.
And it just grosses you out.
It's so disgusting. And you're like,
I don't want to touch the actual toilet. Even though, the seat...
I know, there's something about it. It's colder, it's wet, it's always damp.
Yes, it's gross.
No, we don't want that experience.
No. Nope. Anything up with you?
I was in San Antonio for a week, which was really cool. It was only 38 degrees, which made no sense.
You were dressed for it, were you?
I had layers. I was okay, but I bought gloves as a souvenir in Texas, What? San Antonio is... I've been there several times and I absolutely love it there. If you're going to go to Texas, it's probably the only place I would suggest going. San Antonio is pretty cool. Very, lots of culture, lots of art, lots of...
I've heard Austin is nice.
Austin, yeah, I think it might be nice. I guess I've been to Houston and I've been to Dallas and I hate them. I didn't enjoy either places, but San Antonio is beautiful. I have not been to Austin, so I should not say that.
A lot of it is we are northern people, and I don't like heat or anything like that. And I'm okay with cities. Like, I've been to Boston, I've been to New York City, Rochester, Buffalo, been to south of Indianapolis. I've been to Seattle. I've gone across the upper states all the way to the West Coast. And I've been down to Florida, and I prefer the upper version. Yeah. And a lot of that is just like temperature. Like it's...
But however, New Orleans is really cool.
Yeah, but it's so hot. It's New Orleans.
And, you know, San Antonio is worth the heat.
And I'm not going to lie. I will say, and
I hate the heat.
A lot of my, like, infatuation with New Orleans is because of Anne Rice.
Well, it's haunting. It's, magical. It's spiritual. It's spooky. It's all the things you imagine when you think of New Orleans. If you've never been, you go to New Orleans, like, that's New Orleans. It's everything you can possibly think of.
You need to plan on New Orleans.
Yeah, and I didn't get enough time there, and I only went there once. But San Antonio is gorgeous, and I highly suggest going there someday. It's really cool. There's lots to do, lots to see, good food, really good Mexican food, table-side made guacamole fresh at your table. It's like,
sounds amazing.
Roll me in it. Thank you.
Just give me a spoon. I'm just going to eat it right out of the bowl. Thanks.
And our flight got canceled on the way home because of ice. And we had to find a new flight, and it was late, and we spent basically 2 days in airports, and it sucked.
Yuck.
On the way home, but we made it back, and I'm still, a little tired from it. I went to, Coyote Ugly. It was the first time I've ever been to one of those. Friday night, decided we're just going to go. I may have drank way too much. Drank a lot. Had so much fun. Met people. Danced. Had fun. Got up the next morning, took a shower, went to breakfast, and went to all my trainings. I'm an adult person, and I did that to myself, so I did not fail on my responsibilities. I still did it, but I hydrated like crazy that night. While I was there, you hydrate while you're drinking. And then you hydrate when you get home, and then you hydrate when you wake up, and that saves you. It really does.
Yes. Because
I'm old. My body doesn't handle that bouncing back real easy unless I'm really drinking a lot of water. So.
I could drink 2 drinks and feel like shit the next day. I'm like, I don't like that.
I drank too much, but
yeah. So we're going to adult prom this weekend.
Yes, we're going to adult prom.
So excited. I got my dress I ordered from Amazon, and I was a little nervous it was going to look shitty and cheap. And
did you get it?
I did, and it looks nice.
Oh, nice.
It's like
I'm excited.
The fabric is a heavier weight, and it's like has lace sleeves. I need to shorten the sleeves a little bit because I have short T-Rex arms.
Yeah.
And I need to shorten.
You're going to have time to do that?
Like, yeah.
Oh, I don't have time.
I might just take it and have my
You're
mom
way
do
better at stuff. I'll just have my mom do it.
I might just have my mom do it. I'm not gonna lie.
You're like, yeah, of course I did. My mom's gonna do it.
But
we'll have pictures of ourselves.
Yeah, it'll be so much fun. And it's like the Ramada, right?
Yeah.
And it's Amber Sky, who's our local drag
queen mother
extraordinaire, the queen mother, yes, of the drag community, and she's hosting it, and I'm so excited.
Super excited. I was going for Wednesday Addams at the dance from Wednesday, the show. I thought it, but the backup dress I got because the other one didn't fit me right. I'm more like Courtney Love goes to prom.
That's still not bad.
I'm okay. Like Courtney Love, don't love her, loved her style, loved her music, loved Hole.
I know. And it's like, that's one of the most annoying things to me in my life is, how much I hate her and
love her at the same time.
I freaking love that album. Live Through This is so good. And I hate that I like it as much as I do.
know. And I can't help it. I do. And I loved her style.
So good.
And I loved everything about her in the 90s. Like I wanted her hair. God. I wanted her clothes. I wanted to
a lot of that
married to Kurt.
I wanted to be married to Kurt Cobain.
Yeah. So, I mean, she had our dream life, but whatever.
Yeah. And she sucked.
But we're going to be at adult prom and it'll be fun. We'll post pictures.
We will.
And
I'm going to channel, like, my senior prom. I wore a black crushed velvet dress.
I wore the same dress.
Yep. And then I wore black tights with combat boots.
So did I.
I'm wearing, it's not crushed velvet, but it's a black dress. And I am wearing combat boots. So I'm wearing red tights for Valentine's Day.
Well, mine's tulle and crushed velvet, and I'm wearing polka dotted tights with combat boots. So,
and I'm wearing, I'm going to wear red lipstick, and I'm not sure what kind of eye makeup look I'm going for.
We're
probably
excited.
something dark and smoky because I'm having a red lip. So.
And then we're going to, I'm going to buy some shooters and shove them in my bra so that because I'm classy like that.
You are.
Flask down the bra. That's what you're supposed to take to prom.
You really are. And
you're supposed to have a flask in your bra.
I didn't because I was a goody two-shoes.
I didn't either. I was at Catholic school. They catch you. They sniff that out.
They really do.
Scary.
Those nuns know.
They told me when I showed up in the combat boots and the black lipstick and the black dress that my picture would not make it to the yearbook. And I was like, it's worth it. I don't care.
You know what's funny? Back then, you could not find black lipstick unless it was Halloween.
We used lip liner.
We did. We used eyeliner.
That's what I meant. Eyeliner. Black eyeliner and gloss.
And I actually used a dark brown eyeliner. And it was matte. It was like, I was the dark matte lip in the 90s before it was.
But that's what you had to do, because when you lived in Watertown, you went to Woolworth's and got makeup. Like, there wasn't a lot of Farmhouse.
Farmhouse had the best
and the
makeup.
gloss was like sticky, oily.
Like an oil slick.
And you put your lips together in a string.
Yeah.
It was not good. But that's what you used. You made do with what you had.
Yep.
Not that we've carried on.
I know. I should get on with it.
Let's get on with it.
I am doing a cursed object this
Ooh.
week. And I'm going back to my heart of hearts, my root in
Some Egyptian
Egypt.
thing?
It's Egyptian. Okay. I'm talking about the unlucky mummy.
Oh no, the poor unlucky mummy.
Yes.
Sounds like a children's book.
So, yes. And we're going to Deir el-Bahri, Egypt, which we'll call Thebes, because that's like, Thebes was like kind of the necropolis of Egypt.
Okay.
In 1868. I'm going to give you a little background. The unlucky mummy is not actually a mummy.
Okay.
It is what they call a mummy board. And what a mummy board is, it is the innermost lid of the sarcophagus. It's made of wood and plaster. It's carved into the likeness of the person who occupied it.
Okay.
It usually has decorated with hieroglyphics. Sometimes they're gilded. I mean, actually, the gilding was the outer one, was the gilded one, and the inner one was just usually painted. Okay. But it still was decorated. It usually had the name of the occupant and other things on it, just about who the person was that was inside. And it's usually, like, this is just the lid. So they have this lid from a sarcophagus, and this mummy board depicted someone who had no beard, and the placement of the hands were lower with the fingers extended like butterfly wings.
Okay.
So it's...
jazz hands.
Kind of. Like in the front. Yeah, they had jazz hands in the front. That's perfect.
I just now think of
and that tells us,
okay,
that tells us that it was a woman. This was a coffin lid of a woman mummy.
So if their hands were butterflied, it was a woman.
And there was no facial hair.
Okay.
And a man usually would have a beard, and their hands would be crossed.
Crossed.
And hers were in the front. Like, like she
jazz
was.
Hands.
Yeah, jazz hands in the front.
But down low.
Yeah. And the hands were like out, like butterfly wings.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how you knew that it was a lady. And the no facial hair thing. This mummy that belonged to this was never found. They've never determined the mummy that went with this mummy board.
Okay.
So, like, all we ever have is the lid. Even though they call it the unlucky mummy, it's not actually a mummy. It's just part of the covering of a mummy, if that makes sense.
It makes sense.
Yep. This artifact was donated to the British Museum in 1889 by a Mrs. Warwick Hunt on behalf of her brother, Arthur Wheeler. Specialists at the British Museum have studied it and say that it can be dated to 950 to 900 BCE, which places it in the 21st to the late 21st to the early 22nd dynasty. And how that goes in ancient Egypt. Tutankhamun, which we've talked about, he was a pharaoh in the 18th dynasty.
Yes.
Which was 1323 to 1319 BCE. So we're going ahead. Like,
my brain's smushed when we start doing this, because I can't.
We're going ahead, like, it's like 400 years after Tut.
Okay.
After Tut.
After.
Yep.
Okay.
And the hieroglyphics that were on this board never said the name of the person in it. They weren't a name. They were religious phrases and chants. Like, what they translated them, they turned out to be phrases that would be said at a temple during the rites of Amun-Ra.
Okay.
So the high quality of the workmanship of this mummy board also told them that this was someone of high rank. And the scholars everybody's come to the conclusion that this was the coffin lid of a priestess of Amun-Ra. Some people think
that makes sense.
She could have been of noble blood, like related to the pharaoh, but there's no proof of that. But they're just thinking because she had a sarcophagus and she was mummified, that she was somebody special.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, by this point in ancient Egyptian history, you're seeing mummies being made more frequently. Like, back when Tutankhamun was pharaoh and earlier, the only people who became a pharaoh were really, a mummy would be the pharaoh. Like,
right.
You didn't see everybody becoming mummified.
Not everyone was.
But, like, by the time of Cleopatra, if people had enough money, they could be mummified.
They could afford to
and there was
do it.
grades of mummification. Like, there was high grade that cost more, and then there was just, like, the soaking your body in natron and then wrapping you up.
Right.
Which a lot of times didn't last because organs were in there. There were a little moisture inside, so they didn't dry out.
Yum.
Well, yeah. But anyway,
Moisture.
like, at this point, you're seeing more non-royal people being mummified, but still people of importance.
Okay.
So, in the 1860s, Arthur Wheeler was traveling with some of his fellow Oxford students. There's 4 of them, and they were in Egypt, and they'd been there for a few years. So, like, back in England in this time frame, men would go to college and then they'd go travel. And so these men were like, oh, we're going to go to Egypt and we're going to look for riches or whatever.
Yeah.
It tells you he was probably of a high birth because he was traveling.
Right.
You know, he could
afford. Had the money to do so.
To not work and travel around in Egypt.
I want that job.
Yeah.
Can I have that, please?
And there's a lot of, like, the story behind where this mummy board came from is very vague because it's all like, this person said this and this person, there's a lot of stories about where it was found.
Right.
And basically he purchased it from someone in Thebes. So we don't know if it was somebody at a dig. We don't know if it was some guy on the side of the road or in some, like, bazaar. Some stories say that he purchased the lid and the mummy, but nobody's ever seen the mummy, so he has the lid, just the top part.
Okay.
So who knows what happened to the mummy? The mummy stayed in Egypt.
Never saw the mummy, yeah.
They could have burned it for firewood because that's what they did.
Oh, that's true.
You know, it could have been burned up. Who knows?
Isn't that terrible?
Because they didn't put any value on the body. It was all on the riches and the paintings and things like that. That's what they put value in and not in the actual person, which makes me really sad.
I know, right?
It's like, this person, it was a person. Show some respect. Oh no, it's dry. You can burn it like firewood.
Why would that be your thought?
There's no wood. And it gets real cold in Egypt at night. And so, like, it's nighttime, they're cold, they're going to burn what's around.
Makes sense. Let's just burn up this guy's bones,
so,
girls, whoever it is.
It doesn't say specifically that Arthur purchased this mummy board, but he's the one that came back to England with it. So there was haggling over price. Arthur ended up with it.
Okay.
But while they were in Egypt, this board came into their possession, and after that, their trip took a negative turn.
Oh no.
After the purchase of this lid.
This is where the unluckiness comes from, right?
One of the men, it says the man who originally purchased the lid, later that night, walked into the desert and disappeared, and no one ever saw him again.
Ooh.
We know the man disappeared. We don't know when, but he walked into the desert in Egypt.
And never came back.
And just no one saw him again. He was just gone. Bye-bye. He probably got robbed and buried somewhere.
Probably.
Or he
died.
Who knows? He's just
gone.
Zip, he's gone. Another man, and this is another one that is like a couple different versions of the story, ended up getting shot in the arm on accident. And it was either he accidentally shot himself or his servant accidentally shot him in the arm. But anyway, his arm ended up having to be amputated.
Oh, God.
So he goes back to Egypt with only one arm.
Okay.
Right?
Man missing, one-armed man.
And one of the other men became sick and fought this long illness and ended up dying in poverty. And I'm not sure if that happened in Egypt or after he came
later
back.
On.
But it was like these 4 men who came home, they were all affected in some way. One of them disappeared into the desert. One of them lost his arm. One of them got sick and then lost all his money and died. And then Arthur lost his fortune 2 times after this. He came back to Egypt, lost all his money, got money back because, it's rich people.
Yeah.
And then lost it again. So.
Well, I guess of all the people, he kind of made out the best.
Right. He lost all his money,
but still he's not armless, dead somewhere.
Yeah.
Something.
Lost in the desert.
Yeah.
Starving, dehydrated, and dying. So.
Yeah.
Terrible. Eventually, this mummy board became under the property of Arthur's sister. She ended up with it. I don't know if he gave it to her or if she was just holding it for him because he had lost all his money. Maybe he sold it to her. I'm not sure, but it ended up being, her name was Mrs. Warwick Hunt. And in 1887, so like when he bought it in Egypt, it was 1868. So 1887, she has it. In 1887, she hired a photographer to come and photograph it.
Okay.
And he died.
Oh.
After this. He died. And there's stories that say because there's a lot of stories that are all folklore. Mm-hmm. And it said he took a picture, and after he developed the picture, he saw a face in the sarcophagus and shot himself in the head.
Oh, God.
Okay.
That's horrifying.
But all of them say the guy died. So, like, that was the only one that I found, but it's probably a lot of, like, rumor. Too.
Yeah, you don't know exactly what happened, but he's dead. The photographer
she hired who came and take photographs of this mummy board, he dies. There was a porter who helped move the sarcophagus that died a few days after helping her.
Oh, jeez.
And a man that was hired to translate the hieroglyphics on the coffin committed suicide.
Oh, jeez.
Mrs. Hunt was eventually convinced to get rid of it by a prominent clairvoyant named Madame Helena Blavatsky, and she has a Wikipedia page. You can look her up. She was like a legitimate like clairvoyant.
I love it.
She established some kind of spiritualist society. She was from England and ended up in America and then came back like just touring around. And this is when she came into the house and said she detected an evil influence. Ooh. And she ultimately said that it came from this mummy board. But she convinced Mrs. Hunt to donate it to the British Museum, which she did. This is the quote from the British Museum website. The celebrated clairvoyant Madame Helena Blavatsky is alleged to have detected an evil influence, ultimately traced to the mummy board.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's like legit. Like, no, this evil go.
You don't want that.
She also said, like, another thing that I read said that someone asked her to exorcise it. She's like, you can't exorcise evil. Evil is. It's like,
they give me goosey bumps.
If something's evil, it's just evil.
Yeah.
Like,
you can't exorcise evil from evil. It's just one.
It's just evil. Some things are just, she said some things are just evil.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think I like that.
But that makes perfect sense.
It really does. So in 1904, a journalist named Bertram Fletcher Robinson, he also has a Wikipedia page. He was a legit author. He wrote lots of stuff. He became fascinated by the artifact and wrote an article about it that was published in the Daily Express in England titled A Priestess of Death.
Oh!
Awesome. That's the best. I don't like it. I wish it would have kept this name instead of the Unlucky Mummy, because the Priestess of Death is amazing. Badass. It really is. He died 3 years later at the age of 35, and his cause of death is listed. Like, after he published this article, he died, and 3 years later he was dead. And his death is listed as enteric fever, which is typhoid, is actually what enteric fever means, or peritonitis, which is an inflammation of the inner wall of the abdomen, the peritoneum.
Ew.
And his close friend, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, which we know from Sherlock Holmes, he blamed the evil spirit of the priestess for using elemental forces, I'm using finger quotation marks here, to strike her vengeance upon him. Like, he blamed, because
he said that was
they worked together. Like, they were friends, these two men. Like, they wrote things together, him and another author. So, like, he was a good friend of him, and he's dead because of the article he wrote about that mummy.
Are we gonna die because we're talking about this?
Well, we haven't been in her presence, so she doesn't know.
Okay.
So the mummy's curse, after this happened, like, he wrote this article, and England was, like, a furor. It became a furor in London. Anybody who died, people would speculate on whether they had been to the British Museum and looked at this mummy board. So, like, if you went to the museum and died, it was because of the mummy.
Yeah.
Any tragedy that happened,
because the mummy board was there,
the curse got them, right? It's like, if a tragedy happened, people would try to tie it to the unlucky mummy.
Yeah.
They'd say it has to do with that. Something happened there.
Right.
Think about the early 1900s in Britain. Think about
dying left and right.
A grand tragedy that happened. A huge
London
tragedy.
Bridge.
It didn't actually happen in London, but it sailed from the British Isles.
Oh, the Titanic.
Yes. There was a rumor that there was a secret mummy on board the Titanic that was being brought to the U.S. by some rich American, came to England and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on this special secret mummy and was taking it back to America on the Titanic.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And it said once the Titanic began to sink, he smuggled it onto a lifeboat. So it didn't actually sink on the Titanic. And
isn't that kind of hard to do? Wouldn't that be heavier than shit?
You'd think so, but it was worth a ton.
Maybe that's what Rose was floating on. That's no room for you, Jack.
It's just room for one. I hated that freaking movie.
I never
Don't
seen
come
it.
at me. I watched it. You didn't watch it? I made Ruben watch it with me, and we were both angry. He was like, I can't believe you made me watch that garbage.
I've never seen it fully through.
It's terrible. Don't watch it.
I've seen the end.
Because I remember when we lived, it was the end of the 90s. We lived in Rockport. Mm-hmm. I worked in Grease Ridge Mall. Everybody one of my coworkers said, oh my God, I've seen it like 4 times already. And I'm like, and I was really excited about the movie because I was obsessed with the Titanic, and I had like all the National Geographics about it. I watched anything that was on TV because it's tragic, and it's like I can't believe this unsinkable
There's some
thing.
romanticness of it too.
And then I'm like, oh, they're making a movie. I'm like, oh, great, and I'm thinking it's going to be like a documentary. No, it was some stupid love story, and it made me so angry because I'm like, and then when I wasn't going to watch it, and then I watched it with Ruben, and he's like, that was horrible. It was horrible. I'm like, I know Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio can both act, but what happened? This movie, they were terrible. This is the worst acting they've ever done.
I've only seen the end. I've seen bits of it. I guess I shouldn't say I've never seen. I've seen parts of it, but I've never watched the whole thing.
I'm a What's Eating Gilbert Grape girl.
Yeah.
Freaking Leo DiCaprio is amazing in that movie. Mm-hmm. Amazing. He is fantastic. And then he does Titanic, and I'm like, what the hell happened?
But everyone loved the Titanic.
I didn't.
Well, I didn't either. And that Celine Dion song.
Oh.
That's what my hell will be. Yes. That song looped.
The movie playing with that song.
That's looped.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess it said that he smuggled it onto a raft and got it to America in 1912. But once there, the curse was still active and wreaked havoc. Although none of the stories about it tell you what kind of havoc it wreaked.
It just wreaked.
It wreaked. So he arranged to send her back to England.
Yeah, he's like, well, we gotta get her out of here.
We gotta get her out of here. This is too much. Although it never said what she did.
What she did. She did something, though.
So, the RMS Empress of Ireland is the boat they picked to send her back, which collided with a Norwegian coal tanker on the St. Lawrence River and sank. But the mummy survived.
Of course she did.
She was then put on the RMS Lusitania and return to Egypt. To send this bitch back.
Yeah, send her back where she came.
Bitch back where she came from. We're tired of this nonsense, right?
It's probably all she wanted.
It is. But that sank off Old Head of Kinsale in Ireland on May 7th, 1915. This boat sank.
Okay.
It was sunk by a torpedo from a World War I submarine. A German submarine in World War I. So, yes, we're in World War I time.
Okay.
And she supposedly sank with a ship. But we know that's not true because she's in the British Museum right now.
So she never left.
She never left the museum. It is also rumored to have been given to the Kaiser Wilhelm II, who was the last emperor of Germany, right before the First World War erupted. So they're blaming her for the World War I.
In World War II, probably.
And the Franz Ferdinand thing. They said that's her. And the Titanic sinking. That was her too.
Yes.
All these ships that sank.
Any tragedy. Big tragedy.
She was on there, although she wasn't on there.
She was in the museum the whole freaking time.
In reality, this cursed mummy board has been on display in the British Museum and only been taken off display during wartime to protect it from any danger that might occur. Any kind of damage that might occur during the war. Because Britain did get bombed. Yeah. So they had her on display, and then when they took her off during the wars, that's when people said she was gone. Like, they sent her away.
So they thought it timed out right for it to be.
But she never left the museum. And honestly, you can go on the British Museum website and see her provenance, and it tells you, like, during art and antiquities, they all have a provenance, and you just look at it. It says who owned it and when and where it was found and all that. You can read it. It's right there. Like, it's pretty cute. There'll be a link to it in the show notes if you want to go check it out.
Yeah.
Or just see what a provenance looks like. There you go. It has only left Britain to be exhibited in other countries after 1990. So it did go to a museum in Australia as an exhibition there. Okay. I think it's been maybe 2 other places or a couple other places, but she's currently on display at the museum to be viewed by any and all guests. So you can go in the museum and see her. She's on display. She's in the mummy room. And a lot of people look over her because she's not, like, there's actual mummies there with glorious sarcophagus. Yeah. So this is just like a board. A board. And if you look at it, she's titled the cursed mummy. That's like what it's called.
I think I would not want to see it, just in case.
Right.
I like to err on the side of caution.
Okay. Some other folklore behind her. It's said that she haunts the museum.
I bet she does.
And the British Museum station that opened in 1900. People claim to have seen an Egyptian woman wearing a loincloth and a headdress screaming.
Oh.
There. Like, that station is now closed, and they've seen her at other stations near there.
Okay.
Near the museum. Visitors to her exhibit have claimed that they have felt unwell and spooked by it. And one man even claimed to have had heart pains after looking at it.
Ooh.
Yeah. It has been theorized that most of the lore behind the mummy board was started by William T. Stead. He was an editor with an obsession for the supernatural, and it said he had an obsession about this mummy board specifically, who actually perished on the Titanic. So this man, who they blame for all the background, all the lore of the curse, was on the Titanic and it sank and he died.
That's crazy.
So maybe she did sink the Titanic.
Maybe she did.
She didn't like those men staring at her.
No, I don't blame her.
They were obsessed with her and kept looking at her. Taking pictures of her and studying her.
I would sink those men too.
Like, he carried the curse with him.
He did. He brought it onto the Titanic. Of course, I don't know about the other ships and stuff. But
she definitely wasn't on it. She wasn't on any of those ships because she came from Egypt and was sent directly to Britain. It's like she's another one of the artifacts that was stolen from Egypt.
Yeah, another one.
Although even though she was bought, the people they bought her from probably stole her.
Yeah. She was not something that should have been taken.
Probably not.
So, I mean, don't touch shit. Okay? Leave the shit where it is.
Right. Especially if it's connected to a dead person or a grave.
You're gonna bring home
keep it bad juju.
Juju. No bad juju in your home. No. That's like, antiques and such. You gotta be careful with that shit, even though I love that kind of stuff.
I know. I totally would go to the British Museum and stare at her.
I don't know if I would. That creeps me out. I'm a little afraid of posting this podcast. I get some kind of weird fever.
Oh my God. The thought of going and seeing this makes me really excited. Like, I would be over the moon. Because I remember when we went to the Met and I spent, like, the whole night in the Egypt wing. Yeah. Like, Margaret, there's more of the museum to see. I haven't seen everything yet. You'll never see everything.
You'll never. We have to go back 17 times.
Come on, let's go. And I'm like, ooh, look at this.
The Met is awesome, though.
The Met is. I need to go back. I need to bring all of my children with me, even though they're crazy hooligans. I think that they would enjoy it.
They would.
I loved it so much at the Met. The Temple of Dender. Oh my God. I still think about it and it makes me happy in my heart.
Oh.
It was such a moving experience for me. I don't know if you felt the same. I felt that weird connection. Because I love Egypt. I would never go to Egypt because it's too freaking hot there. I would die.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I probably would die because people would kill me because it's unrestful there. But man, it would be, if I could, even in the winter, it's still like 100 and some degrees and it doesn't rain. There's no winter in Egypt. It's summer and hot all the time. It's awful.
Ugh, that's my nightmare.
I know, and I would love to see it, but it's not just hot, it's dry and sandy, and I would be really miserable. I wowould hate it.
I went to the Museum of Science in Philadelphia and saw the King Tut exhibit.
I know you got me souvenirs from papyrus. You got me a papyrus thing.
And it was really cool. And that kind of stuff is freaking awesome because it's just like seeing things that were around that long ago.
I know, to look at it and think somebody made that with their hands.
And also, okay, they made it with their hands, but it's still here.
Yes.
Like how the...
And to think, like for me, it's like I think about a person like made that. More than one person.
Yeah, all the hands that
they had their own life and they had their own like family, and it's just like that weird connection. I feel
right.
I don't know if everybody. I love antiquities and I love history.
Yeah,
and it's like maybe that's why I like it so much. As I feel like you get that weird connection to somebody.
It makes it real.
Yeah, it's like
it's not like a story.
Someone made that 4,000 years ago. An actual person who was alive. In a totally different.
It also makes me feel very insignificant.
Yes.
And little and small and
it's not you feel insignificant, but this one artifact that was made by invisible hands, anonymous people made it for this boy king, who 4,000 years later people still say his name. And that is
wild.
It is pretty wild, especially because he was only king for 10 years, not even 10 years. 9 years.
The whole thing's wild. History is cool.
It is cool. Yeah, I would love to go see this. The British Museum is totally in my wheelhouse, though, because that would be awesome. They have an amazing Egyptian collection because
they stole everything
mostly. But I still want to go.
Colonizers.
It's like the closest I would get to actually going to Egypt because
you can't handle the heat.
I couldn't handle it. The desert and the heat, I would not.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you on that because I don't think I could do it, but it would be, I don't know if I could go near a pyramid either because they're big.
They're huge.
And I can't handle that.
It's funny, the Sphinx isn't as big as people think.
I've seen pictures that show that it's not. And like where the pyramids are, it's like near cities. And it's like, you don't see the pictures from the angles of the city, but they're not
that far. No.
Where you can see the city if you take it at a right angle. But people don't take those pictures because they don't look as cool.
Right. You just see it in the vastness of the empty desert.
It's just like, this is not the same thing, but it sort of is like, people don't realize that the Alamo is literally in the middle of San Antonio. Like, it's right in the middle of downtown with big buildings all around it.
It's so weird.
But no building can cast a shadow on the Alamo. It's a rule. So they only can build so high.
Crazy.
I know.
That is a weird rule, though.
Yeah. And in Texas, if you say you're married to a person 3 times, you're legally married to them. I mean, I don't think they follow that, but that's a thing.
I don't know if they allow same-sex marriage in Texas, though.
Oh, that's true. They probably don't.
Maybe they do. I don't know.
I don't know. I think they do.
I think everybody does now, don't they?
I think they do. I mean, Florida might not for longer because that guy's a whack job, but that's
sorry if you live in Florida.
I know.
I'm really sorry if you live in Florida.
You have to live in that nonsense.
I couldn't live in Florida just because it's hot and it's huge.
Basically, Florida's hell in my book, but that's just me.
It's hot and humid, and there's alligators and gigantic snakes that are not native to there. They will eat you when you're sleeping.
They want to eat my dogs.
Or my small children.
Or children, yes.
I know. I'm sorry if you're a snake lover. If you have pythons and boa constrictors and you like to sleep with them and they snuggle up to you, it's not because they like you. They're measuring you to see if they're big enough to eat you yet. That's what they're doing.
And they stop eating.
When they slide up to you and lay right up next to you, it's because they're trying to see, am I big enough to eat you yet?
I can't even talk about snakes anymore, Mara. You need to change the subject now.
I'm sorry.
You know how I feel about that.
And alligators, I like that they need to stay in the swamp, but they don't, and they'll come up and they go out in people's yards and take their dogs. They would eat you. They eat your kids.
I know, but I mean, typically people are out there with their little babies alone. The babies aren't, but the dogs can be left out, so they get eaten all the time.
The thing is, like, alligators are powerful, strong.
Yeah,
like, they could break through your screen door.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Wolves can't, or coyotes can't do that up here. A bear probably could, but Bears are not as aggressive.
They're not aggressive
as alligators.
And so Griffin's sister posted a video outside of her house one day. There was an alligator outside her door, and her husband's like, "Don't open the door, don't open the door." And she opened it a little bit, it hissed at her. Like it was trying to get into her house. And they had to call, and she has a video of it, like doing the roll thing while the guy was trying to capture it, and all the neighbors were outside, and like it happened right in her front door.
Oh,
she has teeny little babies. If they would have opened the door, like would they have gotten eaten by the alligator? I don't know, but I don't want to find out.
We got dragged out of there.
I know.
No. See, I'm never living in
Florida is hell.
No.
In my book. I'm sorry if you live there and you're offended by that, but I cannot imagine. There's nothing redeemable.
I will take.
I guess Disney World's kind of cool.
Snowstorm and 30 below over alligators and hurricanes.
Me too. Snow melts, man.
It does.
There's not gross bugs here.
You can layer up and get warm with nice, fashionable sweaters.
Yeah, I can look cute.
And hats and mittens.
I can't. If it's hot, I don't look cute in Florida.
I don't even.
My eyebrows smell off. I don't want that.
Here we go. My hair looks bad. My eyebrows
hair
smell. I'm sweating.
My extensions won't look like my hair because my hair will be frizzy and the extensions won't. No, thank you. Don't want that.
No.
I did poorly in New Orleans, but it was worth it in New Orleans. There's nothing. I mean, I kind of like Disney World.
I used to like Universal Studios, but like I need to go to Disney because they have Star Wars Land, and I need to go.
I'll go to California.
I don't know. California.
It's not the same kind of hot.
It's not. If I'm going to go to the West Coast, I'm going to Seattle and Portland.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying to go to Disney, you can go to Disney, which is one land. Go there.
Florida, you could drive it overnight.
I don't want to go to Florida. That's the but I have to because my sister-in-law lives there half the year now, and they want us to come visit. I can go for a brief period of time in the middle of winter.
Which sister-in-law? The author?
Yeah.
Oh.
My sister-in-law, E.M. Moore, is her author name.
E.M.
E.M.
Yep.
Moore. And she writes like reverse harem, like supernatural, witchy, vampire, werewolf shit. And it's steamy and spicy. And if you like that, look her up. Just plug her here.
Sounds fun.
She has more fans than we do, so she should be plugging me somewhere. But that's
right.
That's besides the point. If you're a listener, you should really check her out. If you like steamy, spicy, supernatural shit,
you should tell her that you should tag her in this.
I will tag her.
Yeah.
And say we talked about you. But I don't know if she wants her real name out there. I don't know how she does that. But I won't say her name. But E.M. Moore is her author.
Cool
thing. Anyway, you should follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Yes, and you should.
We'll show those pictures of what Margaret talked about.
Yeah, there's not a lot of pictures. I did take there's a picture of what's his face, Bertram Fletcher Robinson. That man had a fabulous mustache.
Ooh,
you have to say a mustache.
He had a sophisticated mustache.
Fabulous for the early 1900s. You can imagine.
Oh, I bet it's great.
It's fantastic.
I am excited to see that.
Yeah, and he was only 35, and that mustache. Let me tell you, that mustache. I mustache you a question. It's like you're like, ooh, look at that fabulous mustache.
I like a good mustache.
There's a picture of him, and there's a couple pictures of the mummy board, and one up close. It's beautiful. Like the artistry of it is just, it's just.
I don't know if
lovely.
I will look at it because I'll probably go blind or something. But
no,
okay.
it's beautiful, and you can see she's a very serene look on her face.
I suppose Margaret wrote this all out and she hasn't died yet. I'm probably safe. Okay,
yeah,
I feel better about that.
I've been working on it for.
And I'll just blame you. Like if I feel cursed, I'm like that was Margaret. It was nothing to do.
I'm
with
cursed, Margaret. You start your period tomorrow.
I already started it. You probably knew when we were doing it.
Yeah. I'll start mine tomorrow.
Yeah.
We did the happy period thing yesterday, so all of us women working on period products together,
like
we're all going to start our period. Like, okay, it's time.
I haven't had mine in a year. Because,
Lucky you.
Well, no. Well, yeah. But it's probably not good for you.
You've always been kind of...
Well, I have PCOS, so I don't have it regular. But also I think changing my diet and stuff. But I think now I'm getting it because my hormone levels are balanced.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
It just, ew. Can I go without it another year? No, I'm just kidding. So, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll post those pictures, and we share our episodes on there, and you can share to your friends on social media. and spread the word of mouth, because that's the best way to support us. And we really love it and we appreciate you.
Yes. And if you'd like to reach out to us, you can send us an email at thecousinsweird@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us through Facebook Messenger or Instagram. And we would love to hear if you have funny stories, any kind of weird spooky stories. Let us know. Even if you just want to reach out and say, hi, can you cover this for us?
Do you have
we'll work on it for
do you know of a cursed object we should cover?
Yeah.
What's your favorite cursed
Don't
object?
say the Hope Diamond, because
we're not doing it.
We're not doing that when it's been done.
It's done.
It's overdone.
But if you have other cool cursed objects that you want to share,
tell
us. What's your favorite?
I bet those shoes made from Big Nose are cursed.
Big Nose? You'll grow a giant nose if you wear them. Big banana nose.
That was our anthropomorphic bibliopeggy.
The terrible trend.
Yes, if you.
I don't remember which number it was.
The shoes made from Big Nose.
Big Nose.
Yeah.
You want to support our podcast, you can go to patreon.com/thecousinsweird for $1 a month, become a freaky friend, and you get a free sticker and bonus episodes. And for $5 a month, you get, you become a terrible trender and you get the same thing as a freaky friend, but you also get a yearly gift, ad-free episodes, and monthly Skype with us and other Patreons.
Yay.
So yay, you can talk about Big Nose and
all kinds of stuff.
Cursed things and Dollar Tree moments.
Spruce bathing suits.
Spruce suits.
Made of spruce suits.
And my terrible trend this week, when you...
Dollar Tree stories are the best.
Dollar Tree stories are the best. If you have a crazy Dollar Tree story, we want to do a whole, like a crazy retail story.
It doesn't have to be Dollar Tree.
Yeah.
Any kind of...
And you don't have to work at the retail. You could just be in there and experience something.
Yes.
Tell us about it. We want to know, because that stuff kills me. It's just bizarro land out there sometimes. You're like, where are we? Who are we? What are we having?
You're like, am I being punked?
Yeah.
Am I on like hidden camera, or is this a movie?
This isn't real life.
I've had episodes like Ruben and I were in Taco Bell one day and we thought, this is a sitcom. Like, it totally felt like,
is this real life?
The shit that was happening was like,
you're just looking around like, is anyone else
both just looking at each other like, is this really happening? This is like a bad sitcom right now. Like,
oh, golly.
No. So yeah, send us your fun stories. Or just reach out and say hi. We like that too.
Yes. Hi. All right. I think that's it.
All right. Stay freaky.
Bye.
Bye.